Oh, okay. Can you can see the people that are in there?
No.
Oh, she's on Instagram.
Oh, she's here.
Oh my God. I tell you what. Okay, so I'm a ding dong. I'm a ding dong. Okay, so supposedly we are also live on YouTube. I feel like I want to pull YouTube up and see. Like, what do you think? Hey,
I'm not sure
Manishka, can you go check on YouTube and see if we're live on YouTube?
I don't think we're live on YouTube.
Are you kidding me? Girlfriend, I'm about to ding it. Yeah, it says channels. Okay, so that we're streaming live to channels. And it should be. I'm gonna wait for her to open new window. We are fixing technical difficulties right now. That's why we set it for 10:15 and not 10. And I am going over to you. Okay.
I'm live on Facebook.
You're live on Facebook. Okay, good. I am looking for YouTube right now. Yeah, we're live on YouTube.
All right.
And I've got it like set for both so that I can see it. It's connecting the streaming software. Viewers will be able to find your stream.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird because I thought the chat on our platform would show. Hold on, let me.
So we see YouTube comments here.
Yeah. Hold on. It looks like it's still. Okay, hold on. Well, I can type into the chat, but I don't know if they can see me. On the YouTube, I can type into the chat, and I was like, "Can you see me?"
Yeah, we're live on YouTube.
Do you see it?
Yes.
Why is mine spinning like a ding dong? I'm sorry. Just you know. What says we're alive? Okay, I don't know. All right, well, we're just gonna go with that, and hopefully.
I think we're set.
There's everybody. Hey! I see all the people in the chat. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So can y'all see us good on YouTube? Trisha, can you see us? There we are. Yes. Okay. I see it all. I see it all. Okay. Thank you, Sarah. All right. So we've been trying to do this, and I know y'all saw something come up yesterday on YouTube, and that was because we were trying to do this yesterday, and then my happy butt. Let me just show y'all what I got. Okay. Like I'm not. I ended up getting on all kinds of medication, steroids, and I was up and got like 2 hours of sleep, and I was like, "Oh my God, Manishka, I cannot do it. We cannot do this. I can't, you know." And so we pushed it off a day, but I don't know how to work the streaming platform completely yet. That's why you saw all the technical difficulties. And so it still showed for yesterday. So my bad. I apologize. But for people who were with us last time that we did a live and I did some tarot readings, you noted I did a reading for. I say I say a shorter version of her name because I butcher it every time. So I call her Shruti. She's not murdered me yet. But so I did a reading for Shruti, and I was like, you know what? It's time for you to step out of that box. Let's do it together. Let's do a live together. Look at us. Look at us.
Yay!
We're doing the live. And just as an introduction, she and I met on Zoom on Sunday to discuss all of this. And the poor woman had to hold space for me for about 2 hours as I was trying to unpack what it is that she does. And then I got tripped up on certain words. And I'm like, but yeah, but don't you believe? And da da da. And she was so sweet. She just held space for me. And I got there eventually. And I was like, I got this. I totally understand. And so my hope is the benefit, and having done that with her already, is that I can help to interpret any things that you all may get tripped up on, like I did. And you may not. It may have just been me.
I go to the restroom.
Also, my children are home. And so didn't know that school was out today at all. I was caught by surprise. And so he might come in to go to the bathroom. If you hear him in the background, I do apologize, okay? Okay. All right. So, all right. Now I'm going to mute a little bit over here. The reason I'm doing this is because I don't want there to be reverb and everything. There's a lot of data. There is a delay from maybe a slight delay on
Yes. Yes.
YouTube, or at least from what we can see, but I hope that everything's good. Let's see here. I am going to, it's all muted, good. So I'm going to come back over, and I just want to see if, are there chats? Oh, yeah, everything is on there. Okay, good.
Okay.
I apologize. I'm still learning, y'all. Yes, Manishka, we can see your comments. Everything's finally coming through. It took a while for it all to start. So, okay. So I'm going to let Shruti introduce herself really quick. So we're going to take like a good hour to dive into this beautiful healing modality that she does. And I'm really excited. I will start off with that because this falls in line with a lot of the things that I've discussed before, especially work with water and how water holds frequency. It's the best conduit that we have. And then the use of water to help transmute and change our own energies, right? And so as we got into this, I had a friend that I was like, oh, I have a friend that does like flower essences. By the end, I realized she does the same thing as my other friend, and I did not understand exactly what my friend was doing all this time. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I'm gonna just so that I'm really excited. I might get a little hyped up sometimes. I do apologize, but there's gonna be plenty of times for you all to ask questions and just to have a discussion. So today is gonna be more about like just learning and maybe a little bit of compare and contrast. You know what I'm saying? Comparing our programmed way of understanding for healing versus what the reality of and the options that are available, kind of thing. So, but Shruti, just give a quick introduction. Like,
All right. So greetings, everybody. My name is Shrutikirti. I'm from India, and first of all, welcome each one of you. And I practice Bach Flowers therapy, which is energy healing, and I've been doing this for the past a year now, approximately. So that's a very brief introduction about me as of now. So over to you, Shana.
so much like me, Shruti's background is not like this is a new thing for her. What is your background in?
So, degree wise, I am a software engineer, a marketing and finance, a graduate, a postgraduate in marketing and finance, so which is like MBA.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked for a while, but then I thought about following my soul calling, which is energy healing. And energy healing in general, I have been doing it for the past, I guess, 12 years now.
Mm-hmm.
So, but bachelor's was something that was introduced to me just recently, and I found it very relative to, you know, the self work. and all like I won't say it's like what do we say, a replacement to self work, but definitely it will help us and like keep us from going through the growing pains, so to speak. So this is an amazing modality that we must at least know about, and this is something we can all try on our own.
Okay. So, all right. So we're gonna break this down so that people can understand exactly what it is. Um, okay. Do baby steps like you did with me before on what
Okay.
exactly are Bach flower. It's Bach Flower Remedies, in case you all aren't understanding. Like BACH, Bach Flower Remedies. What is that? Like just one, two, three basics. Break it
Okay.
down.
So there are two pronunciations. Firstly, one is batch, and
Oh.
because yes, so that's why people just get confused. And some people call it batch flower remedies, and some call it batch flower essences. Also, Bach flower is like a German pronunciation, but because
Ah.
yeah, so it was introduced by not introduced but discovered by Dr. Edward Bach or Bach in the early 1900s. He was a very well known physician, bacteriologist, and he also discovered vaccines. But he settled with his inner calling again and he started to research about nature because he was very much interested in energy healing because he was not feeling satisfied about the patients that were coming in and not getting healed completely at every level from the root cause. So he went on this adventure. He used to sit in the jungle and observe nature for long hours. And he took a very long time to discover the set of 38 flowers, out of which one is rock water. And he tried to extract the vibrations. Like we all know, everything has vibrational
Mhm.
properties, everything in its vibrations. And flowers have a very healing property, like nature in itself is very healing. So he, out of the research work he did, he found that every flower was catering or addressing a specific emotion, which is the root cause of every disease. And even today, we believe that 90% of the diseases are psychosomatic. So that was his research and discovery. But since I also keep reading about many other authors, so about this flower healing, so they say that this was existent even before he discovered it because flowers like vervain, we have herbal teas made out of vervain, if you've ever heard of it.
Mhm.
Aspirin, the modern medicine aspirin, comes from the willow tree that we use in Bach flowers. So this is a system of healing which not just prevents, it is a preventative system of energy healing, and it removes the root cause like permanently.
Mhm.
It takes time, of course, it takes time, but yes, it does that.
Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna recap what you just said because
Hmm.
a couple of things, like you even just told me a couple of things just now that I didn't pick up on the first time.
Yeah,
So basically, his goal was what he was noticing is what we see today, where there's a
yeah,
lot of the quote unquote when you're looking at disease or dis-ease or any type of illness, there's a lot of symptom management rather than actual healing that's occurring.
right,
And so people were not really getting to the core issue. Therefore, all they could do was kind of put a band aid on what they were experiencing, but never really. And we've talked about this on the channel where when you reprogram your body at a deep cellular level, that there is a different way of operating because even with any type of obviously we get programmed certain ways. We experience traumas. Um, the way that any of those things are encoded into us is actually through what Shruti was talking about, our emotions. our emotions create a vibration within the body that actually will recode our biological DNA. And so then we begin to operate from that coding. And so if people don't go back to the essence of things or to the energetic level of things, then really we're just dealing with the human behavior patterns, but not really the underlying. And that's why sometimes we trip up so much, because we'll get into such a pattern. It's so easy to what I call backslide into old behaviors, because we really haven't addressed it at an energetic level.
That's
And
right.
so, go ahead. Were you going to say something?
No, I said that's right.
Okay. And then the way that it sounds to me, and you correct me if I'm wrong, so he started to go and do some research on how to extract the frequency, the energy, the
Yes.
vibration, so that we could utilize it for ourselves, which I've talked a little bit about also about, like me going out and sitting in streams and creeks and waters, and how just having myself surrounded by it changes. It is literally the frequency. There's even science behind this. And I love the fact that you brought up aspirin and all that. You're like, hey, this isn't so far-fetched. This isn't crazy woo-woo. This is real. And we've kind of gotten away from it in modern medicine. But for me, it's like even water can change the negative ions that I have with moving water changes that. And so when everything that is around me is operating at a higher frequency, it helps me to operate at a higher frequency. I'm not having to dig through this mucky energy just to express myself. Same as like sometimes when we have the really not so great friend group or toxic family members or anybody that's around us, it's hard for us. It's almost like a fight for us just to keep our own energy balanced. And
Right.
so he sounds like he was using the energy of nature to help get us start healing at an energetic level within. Am I correct?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so how did he do that though? Like can you explain the process he used to obtain the essence or the energy?
All right.
Okay, go ahead.
So there were flowers which bloomed in the summer, and then there were some which bloomed in the winter. And he found out two basic methods which we normally do. We've all heard about rose water. The same way we put the petals in the water, boil, or put it under the sun. So, and the properties of the rose petals get extracted in the water, because we all know that water has memory and it can store all the frequencies that are being put into it. So, there are two basic methods. Primarily for the summer ones, there was the sun method, where he sun dried the leaves, and not the leaves actually, in water. He literally put it into water first, and he kind of boiled them under the sun for like 3 to 4 hours, and then it was stored in the diluted forms with brandy. And the water, by the way, which was used was spring water, natural spring water. Yeah. So that's even more healing and has even more healing properties, as we know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's right. So the second one was the boiling method, which was just boil it under fire for about 30 minutes. And the same way it gets extracted in the water. And for the shelf life, some use brandy and some use other mediums.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this
So
is
how do you?
how.
What about
Yeah.
you when you're doing? Because and we're gonna get into what you do and everything, but like,
Mhm.
do you use multiple methods also in your practice, or which
No,
method do you use?
no, we don't. As practitioners, we don't, because this is prepared especially in the Bach Center in UK.
Okay.
It's yes. So they prepare it, and we get the either the concentrated versions or the diluted ones. It's up to us which ones we want to get.
Okay. Okay. Um. So I'm going to backtrack just a little bit because we kind of said in the beginning, like in the introduction, that that's not necessarily what your degree was in. That's not how you started out. And like a lot of us in this little
Mhm.
soul tribe that we have, um, we're doing things different than how we started out. we're much like Dr. Batch. Like we are moving into what we're really called to, right?
Correct.
So, how did you come into this whole thing? Like, how did you come across this and get into it?
The bachelor's.
Yeah.
So, so one of my acquaintances, she is a bachelor's in alternative medicine. So bachelor's is also one of the alternative medicines. I forgot to mention that. So she told me about these remedies or the essences as we speak. So I was going through this dilemma whether to start something of my own or not. Like almost like finding my vocation, the true soul calling. Although
Hmm.
I wanted to do something else, but in energy healing, like Reiki and cosmic healing stuff like that. But this is something I was amazed that in just a dose or two, I could feel such clarity in mind, such a grounding feeling, such a positive feeling from within that it was at first my ego went like, no, this is the outcome of my meditation and this and that because I was doing heat self work like normally what we do. It took some time for me to accept this, but finally I did after like a week or so when actually I started to action things in the direction with where I always wanted to go and
Hmm.
things started falling into place. So that's how I came to know and got interested in even learning about it.
So, do you have a lot of people around you that that do this, or you do? So you have like a
Yes,
support team of people that you
yes,
can.
yeah,
Cool. Did you? I think you told me. I think you said you went and did you get a certification also?
yes, yes. It's a
Okay.
certification course.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right, so now we got the backstory of what this is, right? How Shruti got into this and came into using these and being a practitioner. Um, and while we understand the point of this is to help us at an energetic level, can you like I'm 5 years old, tell me how these remedies help? Like exactly how? How does these flower essences help us at an energetic like in the healing process? Let's put it that way.
Right. So there are many ways I can explain that, but let's start with the emotional, mental, and then the physical states of our body. Okay, so we all know, and those of us who don't know, there are five bodies. One is the physical, next is the energy body, which is the pran kosh. The life force is stored there. Next, the third body is emotional body, and then we have wisdom body, and then finally a bliss sheath, right? So as we move from the gross, which is the physical body, as towards the bliss sheath, the grossness starts to diminish, so to speak. The frequencies are the highest at the bliss sheath, and to match that frequency, we like there are many energy healing modalities and meditations to reach there, and that's how we're able to balance out the five elements, right? So what does these flowers do that they not only heal the emotional and the mental realms, but eventually they start to increase the life force
Mhm.
within the body so that self healing starts taking place. In terms of elements, the space element is something which when it increases, that gives a healing effect. How does it work? Is that let's take an example of solid liquid gas, right? Going
Okay.
back to the school a little bit. So the solids have the atoms have the least space between them. That's why it's more gross, like it's more heavy, so to speak. Then liquids have more spaces between their atoms. It's more flowing, and the gaseous state has the least amount of heaviness, and it's free flowing, which is the
Mm-hmm.
space element. The moment our energy meridians within our body, the channels of energies within our body, they clear up and have free flowing life force within us in and every cell is connected to all the energy meridians, right? We
Mm-hmm.
can't just say this organ or that one. So every
Mm-hmm.
cell is connected. So whenever there is space included or increased in the body, the energy starts flowing and we start healing. How does that increase? We work on the higher bodies. The bliss sheath empowers the wisdom body, where the bliss sheath is the trance state. Okay, so there are no thoughts, nothing there. Then we have the wisdom body, which contains all the negative, not negative, but all the psychic impressions that we have had experienced in this lifetime or in previous lifetimes, like the soul um, record,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then we have the emotional body. Our emotions govern our mental body, which is the energy body, that is the prana, right?
Mm-hmm.
They influence and form the mindset, and thereby we form a personality, our behavior, patterns, and everything. So when a disease happens, it's not just started from the physical level. It's always begins from the emotional body,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then it comes down to the mental realm. We start thinking in that way, in a manner, like energetically, not
Mm-hmm.
action wise. And then they manifest into our physical body
Mm-hmm.
eventually, right? So these remedies, they work on the emotional and the mental realms directly.
Okay.
And yes, so the disease starts from emotion, then mental, and then finally to the physical. The healing begins from the physical, that is our behavior, the personality, and then we go up to the mental realm, and then finally the core, the value systems, the belief systems, which is the emotion. Emotion
Mm-hmm.
body contains that. So finally to that level.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to so what I'm going to do is I'm going to reflect back to you what I'm hearing, okay? And you just
All
keep
right.
me in
Yes,
line,
it is.
okay?
Thank you.
So frequently what I talk about is how and I use the chakras, okay? So I'm going to use my terminology, but I think that I'm on the same page as her. I always talk to everybody about how there's the etheric, which is the spiritual or the space, is the way that I would, you know, call it, where energy is the most fluid and unobstructed. And that's usually your crown, your third eye, your throat. And that the heart chakra actually, when you feel something through this, which is your emotions, okay, it is a thing that gives you the impression or the experience, right? That's how we're able to interpret certain things. Your heart chakra will interpret both. It can interpret, so when she's talking like, hey, it happens from space, it happens from this level down to the mental, then to the motor, whatever order you were talking about. But the healing starts from the root chakra, the sacral, the solar, and then because so what I want to say is that um, when we talk about manifesting and bringing in something that's in alignment with you, that it is literally balancing this, and the best way for you, like a Care Bear, people who are in the United States know what the Care Bears are. You will beam out to the universe. Okay, so I do tarot, and that's how I came into knowing Shruti. And we always talk about the Six of Cups. Five of Cups is having looked at and only focusing on the things that have gone wrong, the things that emotionally have hurt us, and that's how we begin to operate in life, and that's how we make our decisions and the patterns forms and things like that, right? So it is a preoccupation with the what I call negative, or what Trudy would call undesired
Unwanted.
emotions.
Yeah.
And so when you move into the Six of Cups, it is having, processed that and remembering those moments where you experienced something that was desirable. And when you allow yourself to feel into that and experience it emotionally, you just begin to have a ripple effect of where you change your energy. And so when you allow, that's what I call playing in the field of possibilities. So she's talking about what we discuss all the time. She's saying, this is going to help you in regards to that, so that your energy, it will help to remove those other things that complicate you having your energy balanced, your internal balance, and what I would consider mastery over where your energy is, right? And so it's something I tripped up on in our conversation on Sunday. I got there eventually. Was, because I also believe in the as above, so below, which is really what she's talking about. It kind of, like that's where it starts, and in the etheric, and then it kind of like goes into the mental or the emotional, and then that kind of stuff, right? It was a little bit difficult for me to grapple with the idea that, oh, if I take this, then it'll heal. Just listen to me. It'll heal my emotional and my mental, and therefore makes me making the changes appropriately at the energetic level easy. Because a part of me, even though I tell you all, we can use all kinds of modalities, this was my human getting tripped up. I was like, but it feels too much like I am using something external to me to fix me, when I've always felt like it's me that has to fix me. And really what she was saying is, your emotions aren't necessarily you. Your thought processes are not necessarily you. You are at the core. You are the energy. And so, sometimes when we get in those stagnant spaces where, and I always talk about, like, it's, you can't really address something until you know what it is. And analysis in and of itself isn't necessarily bad. The thought processes of, because sometimes our human needs to understand what are we doing right now? What is the real issue? But all too frequently, as a human, our human aspect really gets kind of like entwined into that process, right? Because there's no real answers that can be found in the mental realm. I got to be honest with you. And so we get so stuck and stagnant because of that. And then our emotions, because they can feel both what I call the etheric, or our soul, or the essence of the energy, our core, along with the human experience, those don't always match. And so our emotions can feel chaotic, and we don't really. And so a lot of times, the best epiphanies that I've come to, the best healing I've ever had, were moments where just in a split second, I get something. Like, it just lands at, like, and this is what I'm talking about when I say a deep cellular level. It just lands. I get it. And in those moments, I can tell you, I wasn't grappling with anything mentally, and I wasn't grappling with anything emotionally. I spent years painfully working through my emotions and my mental realm just to get to the space where I could be open to receive the answers. Like, I could be open to receive the new perspective, the new lens, the new, you know what I mean? Could you imagine having something help you untether and untie that knotted up thought processes? Just quiet the mind enough and quiet the emotions enough so that you could be in that space to receive. And then I was like, oh, I got it. I was like, this isn't about, because my human wanted to tell me that I was, I can do this. I'm going on to that, right? I don't need something external to me to do this. That is a lie, okay? That's why I go to the creek. That's a lie, right? That's a lie. I don't know why my human was getting tripped up on that in that conversation, but I get it now. I do, because there's so many times where, and I'm gonna give one more example. We could have 1,000,000 people tell us something, and one day the 20th person will say it, and suddenly it makes sense. Suddenly, it's like, we call it epiphanies. We call it like an aha moment. We call it like we feel it deep within. We're like, oh. And it's that moment where we get the understanding, the knowing that we can't ever come back from. So imagine all the work that we have done. Now, I'm going to ask you this question. I'm going to let you talk about it a little bit more. But imagine all the times where we have spent longer than we had to grappling with something because our human or our emotions wanted to get in the way, wanted to argue because they're coming from spaces of programming and trauma and things like that. It's a lot like the ego. Remember, I told you the ego has no real reference of what truly is or the future holds. It is nothing more than a collection of what we've experienced. So this type of modality, and then I'll shut up. It was really important that I got to this place. Like, she had to hold me through this conversation. I'm just going to tell you that much. To understand that one, and I know there's the human aspect, and society may want to tell us that and maybe I just want to tell myself, like, somehow I'm weak if I have to utilize something. But also, I have to remind myself that I am one with nature. I am one with everything, because that energy that we're talking about runs through everything. So while I am different, I am not separate. And so I'm not utilizing something external to me. I am utilizing something that is a part of me to help, this. And so if there's something that can help you unravel the emotions and unravel the thought processes so that you can be in that base energetic to receive those new understandings, right? And that's what you would get, right? Am I wrong in thinking that when this happens, you're actually able to see something clearly and gain that new perspective, lens, understanding that helps you get rid of all those patterns and behaviors so that you don't like fall back into them, basically? Am I right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. On that note, like, I've written questions down, y'all, so don't make fun of me. I wanted to make sure I asked everything. Do people sometimes feel worse? I say this because I have worked with other energy modalities. People have heard of Reiki, they've heard of like all kinds of stuff, right? So I've worked with other types of modalities, and I got to be honest with you, when someone did work on me, and what they did was they pulled the energy out and pulled it and like unraveled. Like, I'm telling you, I felt cords coming loose from me. When the energy starts flowing, like you talked about, I loved your analogy there, that when the atoms are further apart, there's more fluidity. Which one, when energy and life force starts flowing through you, that can be a little scary because you're not used to that. But two, and this is just my experience, you can, but two, sometimes, I did, like I would have, like, I had stuff come up emotionally I didn't know was there. And it was like, suddenly, since things could move freely through me, I was coming to other realizations sometimes does this happen when people use this type of modality? Like I'm like, okay, but like, can it feel worse before it gets better, or or how does this help with that?
All right. So we all so we've all been there, right? Because there are lessons for sure, and emotionally, what happens is more than any incident, our reaction to that incident matters most, right? And
Mhm.
where does that come from is our core, which is the emotions, the societal norms, the cultural belief systems, the value systems that we learn right through childhood, right? So at times we subconsciously pick up on things that were projected on us as children, as kids, because kids up to, I guess, 10 years, they don't really have logic developed. The left brain, logic is not developed yet. So they absorb everything that they see, not listen to, but what they see. They start to learn that and grasp it. And that forms our mindset. And when that is in disharmony, or we pick up wrong notions of ourselves, or when our we are asked to like shut our inner voice and stop trusting ourselves, and a lot of trauma happens, right? So while we are adulting, while we are growing, we realize that, oh, that was not the truth, and that's why something is going wrong, because our reactions to things are really scary at times, and either they scare us or we scare others. Right?
Mhm.
So these flowers, they very gently work through all of this. And just like Reiki and other healing energy work that we do, I have I do that as well. So what happens is we just send the energy to the person we are healing, right? And
Mhm.
he doesn't have to do anything. The least he would be doing is just breathing in and out. Or if we ask them to do some breathing exercises or anything like that as a part of that therapy or healing that we know about. So these flowers, they work on the behavior level first, then we go to the mindset or the thought processes that just get us stuck, like Eight of Swords that we were talking about in tarot, right?
Mhm.
So we don't know a way out. But these remedies, these flowers, just give the mental clarity without us getting into the process literally, if I make sense. So they, like, as I talked about the healing process, first is the behavior, then are the thoughts and the mental realm, and then is the final emotional, right?
Mhm.
So when we do this, like uh, gradually, we don't really have to get into the growing pains, because in these flower essences there are many flowers that heal the trauma, irrespective how long has it been that we experienced it. So there is, like, I would say, not being very boastful, but I would say you name it and there is a remedy for that. There is a flower that we can use to, calm us down and harmonize all the emotions, get the logic and the emotion into balance, right?
Mhm.
Because once we are experiencing anything that is not pleasant to us, so if there is something like a subconscious programming which stops us from being ourselves, or which has weakened our inner strength, we get emotionally carried away.
Yeah.
And that makes us believe that the problem at hand is bigger than us, which is not the case because we have all the strength in this world as a human being if we know how to tap it and harness it.
Yes.
Correct. So, not really. We don't have to go through anything like the growing pains or sitting and churning in the mind. What did I do wrong? Why did this happen? Etc. So that's how it works.
So it sounds like to me the same way when you first come to a practitioner and you have some kind of presenting whatever whether it's physical ailment, it all boils down to that emotional piece. Um, but like whatever you present with. So once the first initial untethering happens and you're in that space where you're open to receive, then some stuff from the subconscious may be experienced because you're actually allowing yourself, because again the most and when something new comes up, rather than getting tripped up on this new thing that emerges, there's a continuing process with your practitioner, and that you can address all of those things as they come up. There's an essence or a composition that
Right.
can be made to help you so that every time something new, as you're peeling back the layers and relearning, because we always talk about, now's the time to walk the talk. This is the embodiment. And a lot of people think that in the embodiment, they get really scared, fearful because it's something new that they haven't done, or it triggers something within them and they think, oh, I still have more healing to do. And that doesn't necessarily mean that. It means that you are reprogramming yourself. You're learning. It's like reparenting. You are relearning how to be you at a core level. And that can be frightening and that can be scary. And then, it can bring in old memories. It can bring in old, and so it's one of those things where it's like, it sounds like to me, this isn't something that you just do and then that's it. This sounds like it's like a process. And the more honest you are with your practitioner about what you're experiencing and what's coming up, and the more they're able to help you in your progression. And so that no matter at whatever point it is, whether you're in the healing, what I call healing and what I call embodiment process, there's something there to help and assist you so that you don't get in your own way. Or
Right.
so your human aspect doesn't get in the way.
And the way.
Does that make sense? Okay.
That's right. Yes.
Okay. I'm with you on this. I feel like there was something else I wanted to ask you because I want to go back to da, 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 da. Can we touch a little bit then again on just really quick the idea and the notion? Okay, first, so what happens when someone comes to you with something like, do they come to you with like, can they come to you for anything? Like, is it like, oh, I have an ailment here and I'm feeling something here physically? Can it be that I've got a lot of anxiety and like, can they come for anything? Like any one of those things? Or is it, am I making sense? Like, do they come to you for
Yes.
physical ailments?
So, majority of the people know about healing at only physical level, right? Not many of us even believe in other non-conventional healing modalities
Yeah.
other than the modern medicine. So I wouldn't say that Bach flowers don't address physical symptoms because that's very gradual a process, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But I have seen people like, as we know that every like the organs relate to particular emotions. Like if you've heard about Louis Hay, this person talks about he or she, I don't know if it's whoever. So they map the emotional and the physical symptoms. For
Okay.
example, if we have like a lot of resentment, the liver starts getting affected, right? And if uh, the varicose veins, if you've heard
Mm-hmm.
of it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's when we don't like to stand or be in a place or situation where we don't want to. Like we are forcing ourselves to be there out of an obligation, or maybe we never learned to rest because we were always told that you should be on the go, you should be like this, and you should be doing this. This is your duty and
Mm-hmm.
not responsibility,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So these things, they do get addressed, and mostly the lifestyle diseases, they are very much influenced by the psychosomatic symptoms. If we
Mm-hmm.
run out of sweetness in life, we might have sugar, diabetes. The pancreas get affected.
Yeah.
The happiness goes away. The sweetness of life goes away. And this is how we are able to map these symptoms and at times include those remedies at the first, in the first composition itself. Because what we do is when a person comes to us, they focus on the physical symptoms, and it is important for them to even tell us what they are going through,
Mm-hmm.
even at the physical level. So we ask them, and they like tell us about all the physical, mental, and emotional level. Not very clearly about the emotional level, because at times there is like varying levels of awareness, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So, we address the immediate situation first, immediate stress in the body first. Then we move on to the anger, and then we move on to fear, and then the self image. So,
Okay.
this way, yeah, so this way, what happens is that at times, like we were talking the other day, that if we have a major injury or a major wound which gives us a lot of pain. Like, for example, if I have a shoulder pain which is very acute, all my focus will be on this shoulder. I won't think about my work going wrong, my behavior going wrong, or even my left leg going wrong,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, what happens is the immediate stress got healed. Now they understand, now they get an awareness of the rest of the parts of the body, or the mental body or emotional body, and then they say, oh, I'm experiencing this. Is it because of Bach flowers? Is it because of the essences? Is it purging? Because we're all used to those purging incidents, right? So,
Yes.
so with
Uh-huh.
this, yeah, so with this system of healing, we don't have to go through it.
Mm-hmm.
And at times it so happens that we become aware of other parts of our personality, because after all, when the life force increases, the awareness, the mindfulness is increasing within us. It's
Mm-hmm.
healing us from within. We are growing to become a better person, right? And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, uh, so
So
as we were talking, yeah,
no, go ahead. Go ahead. Finish.
as we were talking about the growing pains, and if people come up to, you know, address physical symptoms, yes, they do, and also get healed. So, yeah,
So okay, so I'm gonna recap a little bit because it does make perfect sense. And I use okay, the thing is I use like different words sometimes for things. We're saying a lot of times the same thing. Where, for example, what I hear is usually if there's an ailment somewhere in your body, it corresponds or has an origination with something emotional. But
right,
sometimes that's like to know. So sometimes you're going to know, oh, I'm dealing with a gallbladder issue. That might be like self empowerment or confidence or self worth, or like you're gonna know, but there's still a mapping that has to occur to kind of like So people come and they may say, oh, I'm dealing with this, but you're gonna sit there and do an assessment and really because you're gonna get information on all of those things because it allows you to kind of map really where something is stemming from, and that helps you to know, okay, this is what we're going to utilize at this point. Am I correct?
right,
And the reason why they may or may not feel an immediate change in the physical is because of the fact that you're having to reprogram the body. This is the way that I describe it. It's almost like when we do a detox, right? There is a change in what we put in, a change in what we're doing. And as such, our body will have to release things. And so it's almost like what I want to say is when it gets to the point where you're having physical symptoms of this, it's kind of been there for quite some time. And it's going to take a little bit of time. You're starting at the emotional level because that's the source of it. Again, if we started at the physical, which is what modern medicine does, we put a band-aid on it rather than actually healing. And when you change things at an emotional level, you change it at the energetic level, you're then able to see it differently at the mental level, which then allows it to change on the physical level. Because the physical is responding to all of those things. This is what I call the mind, body, spirit connection, how you can't address just one or else changes will not be made. And so you have to really address all of them. And so to me, it's saying that while if it's a physical symptom they come to you for, even if they don't get an immediate response, 9 times out of 10, if they are continuing to allow themselves to be in an open receptive state and they continue to work with you and are honest with you about, okay, now I'm feeling this and now this is happening and this is what I'm experiencing, if they allow this modality to help them instead of fight against it, because we all can do all, that they will begin to experience a difference in their ailments a lot of times. And by no means, and this is just for liability purposes, by no means do we ever encourage somebody not to utilize modern medicine or anything else like that. We need to understand that this is supposed to help. This is like holistic healthcare. Does that make sense? Rather than just singular, isolated, that kind of thing. And so never take what we're saying in regards to this modality as telling you what to do. But we definitely want you to be aware of the other options that are available to you, because this is a very hidden, to a certain degree, modality that can be exceptionally beneficial and sometimes help you work through something a lot quicker than when you try to do something in I want to be nice about it. I want to be like in the way that the world operates now. Like everybody says this is what you do and you don't do anything else to heal. And so, if you can't heal with this, then we just need to treat the symptoms. And that's not, I don't believe that, guys. I never believe that we can't get to a place of healing something. Okay. And so this just sounds like it can help all of these things if someone comes to you with a mental. Okay. So sorry, the live on. Sorry, I've got to fix this. There. Okay. The live on Instagram ended. It only lets you go for like an hour. So this really just, in my opinion, it's you have to stick with it long enough, as long as it takes. But
Yes.
no matter what, it's faster than what you were doing before. I know people who've been in therapy for 20 years and nothing. I'm just going to tell you, like, they are barely managing life. I have seen people be on medication for autoimmune diseases. I've seen people, like, we all know, people who have been grappling with something and they're using these other techniques. When you incorporate everything, when you really understand that we have to deal with things at an energetic level, in addition to any of the methods that modern science wants to tell us to utilize, that we have to address it at an energetic level in order to really get a comprehensive and to get to the core, right? Like you don't really get to the core unless you address the energy. That's what I'm going to say.
That's right.
That's my.
So,
go ahead.
just adding something here. So, it's not always that we don't really get relieved of the physical symptoms immediately, because we always ask the person as to what is he feeling, right? So most of the times that is dissolved immediately. And yes, there is a duration of time, like up to 2 to 4 weeks, for like one composition to work on your system. But if like you mentioned, it's a holistic healing. If you continue your medications, the modern medicine is great, I would say. There's nothing like immediate relief which has been ever discovered till date except modern science, the allopathy and everything, right?
Hmm.
So we always encourage people to keep going with that and do a holistic healing.
Yeah.
So, yes, the physical symptoms might take time to dissolve completely, but at the same time, let's say, some pain points, I would call it, that gets healed very um, easily and quickly.
Okay. Let's see here. I want to make sure. So, and I asked you this when we talked last time, and I think this is. We might be able to like put a pretty good bow on it. Um, does the remedy do all the work, or does the individual have to do work on the core issues as well? And I think last we talked a little bit like, well, if the remedies can help you with all the other things, because usually what we have to work on is the mental and the emotional. And if the remedies can help and assist pull that apart, we just really have to be focused on being receptive to that new when that new understanding and revelation comes in. That sounds like to me that's really, you know. However, Trudy, I know my human sometimes likes to, sometimes does no matter the. I have had at times where I've been doing like a healing modality, and this is obviously not the Bach Flowers, where I'm set on a trajectory and I am doing the work, and I have life force flowing through me. But once in a while, my human will throw a curveball. Okay, like something will come up. I'm like, that, oh, and then for whatever reason, I start to put more importance on that. Okay,
Correct.
so I'm imagining this is just a hypothetical scenario, guys. Okay, I'm imagining that I am utilizing the flower essences, right? And we've gotten into a place where I'm even in the embodiment process. Like I am learning to operate from this new understanding. But much like anything else, like you said, sometimes the physical healing may take a little bit longer to see evidence of. Sometimes I would think, even if we pull, this is my thought process, and you correct me if I'm wrong, okay? Which I'm thinking I might be wrong, so you just tell me. Even though the essences can help pull and unravel the mental area, right? So that we can actually not have to focus on that, but focus on just the being, the focusing on the energy itself. Um, like I just picture my human, even despite having that going, like my ego would still want to chime in and convince me of something different because it's like I'm feeling like I'm having to reprogram my emotions or reprogram my, because at an energetic level, it's almost like a ripple effect, is what I'm thinking. Okay, that's why like sometimes physical symptoms aren't right away. So even though if I adjust things and I am at a new awareness, a new lens, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to operate from this space. I'm at that energetic core, and I'm just really open to the energy because that's what everything really is. Um, it might take a little bit before my mental realm to catch up with me. You know what I mean? Eventually it will. Eventually, the way that I think and my thought patterns and everything else like that, which is what I call the embodiment process, will accommodate and will reflect where I'm at an energetic level, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's right away sometimes because it's a ripple effect. it'll eventually all reflect your energy, which is all as within, so without, right? So I'm going, okay, so what if I'm in that space, okay, where I'm like, okay, I'm starting to live my life from this new understanding and everything else like that, but my ego chimes in. My mind, my ego, human aspect, whatever you want to call it, okay, the mental says, oh my God, if we do this, this, and this, and da da da, and so suddenly I am like now buying into whatever this thought is that came into my head. And then I feel like I have a dilemma because I've come to this new understanding. And as we all know, I've talked about this before, once you come into an awareness of something, you don't just magically, you can't ever, you just, it's almost like I can't unknow it now. I cannot unknow it. So I am feeling this and I'm like responding to this, right? This new thought that's, how does that work when you're doing, how does that work? Is this where they need to be honest with you? Like when something like that happens and comes up, like how does the flowers help with that? Am I making
Alright,
sense?
yes, yes, you're making sense. So let's take a real example first. A lot of us talk to you about putting up boundaries, right, Jana?
Yes.
So we take that as an example. So let's consider it at the three levels. First, we'll talk about the behavioral aspects. Sometimes when we say no, we regret. Why? Because we feel that there is an obligation that we must align ourselves to the other person's wills and whims and fancies to what he wants, even if that's a relationship, correct?
Hmm.
We feel guilty about things. Then another level is where we feel angry, right? Once we are regretful, there is anger directed towards the self,
Uh-huh.
right? What the core is that we are not putting up boundaries. We have not learned to say no because we were always taught something else in the childhood, not really taught consciously, but subconsciously, right? So when we like, it's it's not just about the childhood programming that happens, but at times there are other things that, like the outside world, we engage in and feel bad about because of the childhood programming,
Hmm.
correct? So um, this is the way that we work. When I talk to people, obviously they, at times, like this example is easy, like they know I can't say no, because somewhere we feel that whenever I say no, I feel a little like cringe in my heart that I shouldn't have
Hmm.
said no, because we don't have the confidence or the courage, so to speak. We absolutely need no courage to say no. It's my life, it's my time, it's my will as well. Everybody has a free will and desires, right?
Yes.
So focusing on the self first. So people at times will tell me that they're not unable to say no. But if that's not the case, there are other symptoms as well that we look for when we talk about, um, when we find that there is a regret in the person and an anger directed towards the self, like I shouldn't have done this. My family member, something happened because of me. You know, they feel uh, liable to what other person has done in his life
Yeah.
without even uh, taking any advice from this person, right?
Hmm.
So we look out for small symptoms, very like at the psyche level, that at times we are we feel very what do we call, shy, and less stronger, like
Hmm.
than the other person
Yeah.
who we are interacting with, because we feel that he is something, like I have to look up to him. So at times we start to pick up gestures, we start picking up the lines because there is no boundary, correct?
Mhm.
We get carried away with what people are doing at that in that moment, right? Because there is no boundary. So these are very subtle things.
Yeah.
And as a practitioner, I try to know these things through questionnaires, through the consultation. And in that consultation, it's not like counseling. We just listen to what the other person has to say. And yes, of course, we counter question, like, why do you feel this way, or how did this happen, how did you get to a conclusion, or this state of fear, for example, or why are you angry, what are you angry at. So we try to know exactly what the person is uh, going through, and from which place or what emotional place is he coming from, like
Mhm.
his behavior is coming from. So when we talk, yes, we we have our own ways of extracting these bits and pieces of information to know.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's how we're able to do that and address all the three levels, not just behavior, the thought
Mhm.
process, or the mindset, but emotional as well.
Was something you said really triggered something for me, because I
Mm-hmm.
think that basically what it sounds like to me is these essences can help you in so many facets of the evolutionary process, and that really it does require you to engage and be vulnerable with the process to continue it. And because there are some immediate benefits and others that are, again, happen as a ripple effect, because this happens and this changes and this changes. And so sometimes it can take a while. I'm going to tell you about when I didn't use any help, and I went through it raw. um Sometimes I would have to learn something a couple of times before I realized it changed at an emotional level for me, right? Like, so I was an overgiver, and I had to go through several different emotional before I go, okay, wait, like, I don't need to. Like, I wasn't able to take actions on something without having had that emotional change first. I couldn't take certain actions. So when we're in the embodiment process, we may still be working through that at an energetic level. And so this isn't something that you can just sit back and let it do all the work for you, because there may be a time lapse, because it is a process, albeit way faster and a heck of a lot easier. But it's going to require you to show up too. Because if I haven't really fully gotten to the place where I have really addressed that at an emotional level, then it's going to require me to also to be brave enough to take some actions, to have those boundaries. But if I continue in the process with my practitioner, and these essences can really help me fully evolve through or work through the mental, the emotional, and things like that, then it's almost an automatic that I'll start taking the actions. So there may be moments during this process of utilizing this modality where you have to show up too, and you have to, but the point of this modality and what it can do is help you at a much more gentler way get to where all that stuff is, where like where you, because your energy, because your emotion, because your mental is all changed, there's no other way to behave or take action than the one that is right for you. So what I'm saying is you would eventually get to the point where it feels so raw and uncomfortable to not put down the boundary that you wouldn't ever think of not establishing that and not, operating from your. There may be a slight. transitionary period where you've kind of like dealt with like the acute stuff, but you're still getting to the core of things, and it's going to require you to step up. And sometimes there may be a level of discomfort at first. Again, talk to your practitioner, discuss these things, because as new things arise, there are ways and these compositions that you will tweak along the way based upon what it is that they need. But the idea is that it's going to get to a place where, and these essences can help you get to that place where you are operating almost automatically like that, because
That's right.
okay. So I don't want people to think like this is like, oh, I can just go sit on my couch and take this. Well, no, because if you're not being honest with your practitioner, if you're not recognizing the things when they come up and sharing that, if in the meantime, while you work through this stuff, it is perfectly okay for you to start trying to take the actions. Like if I already come to an awareness that this is an issue for me, I was in that receptive. I've got a new lens. I am worth this. Da, 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 da. I may still have a level of discomfort emotionally that I'm working through in regards to establishing that boundary, but that doesn't mean that I wait. I don't have to wait. I can start taking action. And I also feel like I want to tell you, I don't care what energy modality you're talking about, you are still in control, because surrender is the ultimate choice. Surrender only happens when you choose to do that. So if you're not surrendering to the process, you can impede. And again, I just say you're probably wasting your practitioner's time. And we would much appreciate if you didn't do that. So yeah. Am I correct on that? Like, would you add something to that? Okay.
So there are people who, like, in family, like, it happens that, especially the ladies, when we get to know about certain things which would benefit our family members, we immediately go and tell them that yes, even they should, you know,
Mm-hmm.
start practicing something or get whatever it is. So there are times that people have been dragged into it. So for them, there's another set of remedy, like to get them to open up and surrender, to not hide behind a cheerful face, not
Yes.
hide their worries, and be hopeful. There is, like, and not just be uh, fearful, but also it helps gain courage at the same time. So there are that, like, people like that, and there are remedies, as I said, that you name it and there will be a remedy for it. Like, a flower would be there waiting to assist us.
Mm-hmm. So okay, and I think that's the piece. I'm gonna highlight this and then let anybody ask questions. But when we're talking about these, this is the reason why having a practitioner is so important, and that just
Yes.
willy nilly any person can't just necessarily do this. Is because one of this process, this whole mapping process. I personally, like it can be difficult sometimes to read for myself, because I'm attached to the outcome. It is my life. I am too invested to see things clearly. And so I will utilize other people to assist me. And so, but on top of that, I want you to really briefly talk about the compositions, because it sounds like you said that something happens in a lab and they send it to you like concentrated, but like it's like you actually mix and put certain things together, and that's where like your expertise comes in really handy, is because to what
Which ones?
degree, what to add, all that. Yeah, okay, so talk about that a little bit, just real quick.
So, yes. So, there are people who, uh, read about this on Google, because every flower talks about a specific emotion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's correct. There's nothing wrong. But if we are not really aware, if you're aware if you exactly know why is it happening. Like anger has reasons, right? Fear has reasons. Lack of hope, lack of courage has reasons. If you actually know it, you can. If no, then definitely reach out to a practitioner, because we are trained to listen in a way that gets to the get us to the core of the problem. And that's how we're able to, give the remedies that are gentle on us. We don't right away, like, there is a remedy, there's a flower known as larch. It's like the state of the universe. Everything you ask, and it shall be given, right? So it does
Mm-hmm.
not identify is right or wrong. It will just act as a super fast catalyst and speed up the process. So if a person is going through a negative mindset, or a negative, or a like suicidal mindset, has having suicidal thoughts, or has too much anger, hysterical, it might aggravate that even more. So there are certain remedies we do not give in the first go. So there comes the play of a practitioner, their expertise. But if it's simple things like you just want a boost of energy, or a boost of mental, um, what do we call it? Like you're
Clarity or
having,
mental, like, yeah.
like, yeah, if you want to enhance your mental process, like you are fatigued for some reason, you cannot get up from the bed after a tea or something, stimulant, something like that. So yes, there are remedies that yes, you right away just go and buy and take them. But again, having awareness of where is it coming from is really important.
Well, also because like you talked to me about like you will like I will put like you put more than just one. It's not
Yes,
just like one
yes,
flower. Like you make a concoction is what I call it. I think you are
yes,
like a composition and how much to add of one thing versus the other and when to remove that and when to like these formulations and stuff. To me, it's like
mhm,
that's a little more complicated, which makes sense because it ain't like if healing was easy, we'd all be healed. I'm just, you know what I mean? Like in
right,
this dense world. So having someone to help know we're going to pull in these essences and pull in these, and then say it's a month later, let's work on this, and I'm going to make you. You really tailor it to the person. Like these don't
yes,
come already together. You have to make the formula for. While yes, the essences are derived and pulled out at the labs, you are the magic and figuring out what a person needs, putting in the right ingredients for the recipe to help them, right?
right. So uh, every person has a personalized treatment bottle, as we refer to it as, right? So there are up to 6 to 7 remedies that we can use in one bottle, and usually I give 2 or 3 depending on the condition,
Mm-hmm.
to either alternate uh, daily or weekly. So
Okay.
that depends, yes. And every 30 days we have a review consultation again, to see the progress. And meanwhile, what the people do is that they keep us posted. Like, is there anything that we feel different today? Is there anything that came up from the past? Because we try, even if we try our best, sometimes people just don't want to, admit or share certain details.
Yeah.
So it happens that they might take their focus away, and not necessarily they go through that pain or that trauma again, but then yes, they will share that, this also happened. Is there a remedy for that? So then they start opening up, and then yes,
Yeah.
the
It's sometimes building that rapport and that level
yeah,
of comfort with you. And so I can see people coming to you and saying, "Well, it's not really doing anything," but it can only do something as much as you're willing to be vulnerable and honest with your practitioner. Because
yes,
if there are things that are going on that you're hiding and you yourself are not willing to go there. So this is what I talk about with any healing, any energy healer, if whether they're psychic or they work with energy work or any of that stuff, you have to be prepared when you come. We don't want just every single person out there, because not like we're going to be wasting our energy. All right, if you're not open to hearing the messages that spirit has to say for you, then you're wasting my time and your time. If you're going to a Bach Flower practitioner and you're not really willing to talk about and go there, like really talk about mental and emotional, and you're just going to be like, then you're wasting your time and their time as well. So, not the reason why I say it like this is because we're not meant to work with everybody. You have to be at least, and so sometimes people have to be so fed up. I got to be honest with you, so fed up with their current circumstances that they're like, fine, and they drop that wall and they'll go there. Not to say that they do it on the first meeting or consultation, but I've witnessed doing in readings, and maybe you have too in doing the work that you do, is that somebody may come to me and it may take the third or the fourth reading before we really get in there good. But in that process, I can see them trying, and it's like it can be scary at first when we are so programmed to not really allow ourselves to do that, because we can also get convinced that there's no real healing that could ever happen. Like we can really. So for me, I put that caveat out there that you have to at least be open to this, um, in order for this to be able to be of any benefit. Let's put it that way.
that's right.
Yeah.
We need to firstly believe that we can heal,
Yeah.
and then I have seen people who won't really acknowledge on their own. You know, they like if I talk to them, any progress, what's the update? Like drop me a text every week at least. So um, at times they don't really realize, I would say, or aren't really aware that
Hmm.
if something has actually happened from within, because one, they are overburdened with other things, and the all our focus has never been ourselves, right?
Hmm.
It's outwards. So at times I have to handhold and ask them, okay, last time you said this, is there any progress? She said, yes, yes, yes. Now I don't react that way. Yes, I feel calm and this and that. So this is why when I ask them to, either give me a feedback or even in the review which we have, they aren't able to, like some of them aren't able
Yeah.
to, tell me that what's actually benefit benefiting them. Like,
Hmm.
have they healed, or is it still the same, or whatever? So I have to like ask them at times.
Well, and I want to say this is where I would, and I'll end it on this, not the live, but like just this part of the conversation is that this is when I talk about like it's co-creation, right? Like there's this, even with spirit, like I'm like, spirit's not going to do it all for you. Like you have a component in this. You have to own this healing. Like this is for you. And so same is with working with anybody that is helping you along in this process. There is an exchange that must occur in order for this to be of any benefit to you. And so, yeah. So I want to see, because we've had a good number of people stick with us this entire time, or Instagram. But does anybody have questions for Shruti about this that we didn't discuss, or or any comments you want to add. I'm going to.
No questions?
I'm waiting. Let's see here. Let's see here. There's a delay with this live streaming. This sucks. So I'm looking on YouTube right now to see,
Okay.
because I have like side by side right now where I can see what it's looking like on YouTube and then also the way that you and I see it. And I'm waiting. Let's see here. I'm gonna put in. If y'all love me. There we go. Does, like when I type, does it show on your YouTube or can you see your YouTube channel? And so everybody's aware this is going to be saved on mine and Shruti's YouTube channels. And so, gosh, Shruti, I need to. What is your YouTube channel name? I'm gonna put it in the comments on mine so people can go check it out and subscribe.
Let's see. Can't I comment here?
Or can we hold on? Can we post? Oh yeah, type in there. We can type on our screen. Yeah, just type in there for your YouTube channel. You know what I'm saying in the chat?
I can't see any comment box on my screen.
At the bottom, under where the chat, you see where people are
No.
commenting? Are you serious? Okay, tell me.
Yes.
Tell me what it is, and I'm gonna give it to them.
Okay. Wait, let me just post it on your channel.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Again, we're learning this. We're learning this as we go.
And I still see 0 people watching again. And there
On
are
my
several
end,
of us.
I see 7.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Well, because I remember on the restream, like how we were doing this morning, like I see things on my panel that you don't. Oh, there it is. I see you. Let's heal. Yay! Okay, really quick also, since there's a delay. What about can somebody work with a practitioner that's at a distance, or do they need to have a practitioner near them? So like if I were to say work with you, could you would the essences, would the formulas last if you were to mail them to me, or do I need somebody close by?
So it's always good to have someone close by.
Okay.
But what I do is within India, so I send them, like courier them, parcel them the remedies. And what you can do is either you connect to, like if you're outside India, either connect to someone nearby, or there are some websites that allow you to make composites, like up to 6 or 7 remedies online, and then they parcel you. So they kind of act like a third party. So there are many ways.
Again, you have to really be sure that you know what the core issues are, and like there's still a benefit. Like to me, I personally wouldn't. I would want to work with somebody to make sure. So that's just me.
Yeah. So I was saying, like if you talk to me, and I yeah.
Oh, so it's almost like a prescription, but it's not.
Yes.
So like, okay, so you
So
can
I
put
can tell
something
you
in
the
for me?
names. Yes, I can tell you the names, and then you can do that.
Oh, so did y'all hear that? I get excited and I start calling people names. Like I was gonna say heifer. I'm sorry. Y'all can still work with Shruti, and she can, instead of it coming directly from her, it'll come from Bach Flower Laboratories. But she can put in what you're needing, which means we can all still work with her. Yay!
Yes.
Okay. So if you all are interested, I'm going to promote and say to give it a shot with Shruti, since she is the one that came and did this. And we're also looking at doing LP, hey, we're looking at doing another live maybe in 2 weeks. Because I told y'all before that I have another friend that I've known since like 2019, and she does the same thing. But she talks a lot. Like, she knows the body so well. It's like, it's not even funny. Like, you can ask her, what does it mean when the gallbladder does this? And she can, and I think there'd be a real interesting conversation that could happen between Shruti and her. Her name is Patrice. And she's already agreed to do this. We're just got to set it all up. But there's a really awesome conversation I think that we can have. And y'all know me, I don't mind being your learning curve. I will ask the dumb questions that you're like, I don't want to ask this. I feel too, I'll be like, wait a minute, what? Like, you should have seen, I wish we had recorded the conversation that we had on Sunday, because I was struggling sometimes. And it really wasn't that hard. But, when we talk about our humans trying to get in the way, I tell you what. So I think there'd be a really epic conversation. They would be able to go really deep. And that might be a great time to do answered question sessions and things like that. Because I could also see if you all wanted to try things out, like to see how they are able to work through these things. It might even be nice to like, okay, if I had this type of symptom, how would you map it? And how would, like, for you all to see the intricacies of how this works, but also it'll give you a lens of understanding. Because I don't know about you all, but sometimes my human is the one that needs all the explanation. My soul gets it. My soul understands. My soul understands energy, vibration, all that kind of stuff. Sometimes but what trips me up is my human. And sometimes my human's like, well, I want to get it. And so, and then when you understand at the intellectual level just how much the mind, the emotions, the body, the spirit, all of that's intertwined, and what these varying levels that Shruti's been talking about, because I mean, that's still a little bit vague for me. Like, we could go into those kinds of conversations, and I think we would get some rich information from that as well. And then you would have two people who know what they're talking about that would be able to have these questions. So, that would be able to go there with you. So I'm thinking in about 2 weeks, if y'all like that, definitely post it. Let me know. You ask everything. People are probably like, what is wrong with her? Oh, well, see, that's the whole point. That's the reason why I did it too. And I was getting tripped up on words. And I had to work through it. And then I would realize, oh man, this is what I tell people on my channel. Like, I would come to the conclusion that she was saying, and I realized, oh, that's what I tell people too. And y'all don't even know. She's been so nice to me.
Oh. Not at all.
Hey, Carlos. Hey, LP. You're gonna need to definitely watch this live over again, because you're late, which I've missed you. But there is so much good information. Oh my gosh, so much good information. If nobody has any questions, that's, fine. I probably asked a million for y'all, but definitely leave a comment on the live after when we're done, both on mine and Shruti's, because we're family here, guys. We're going to pump each other's stuff up. Okay. So when I tell you to share what you're doing and you know what I mean? Like, I mean it. Post your websites, do all that kind of stuff, because we're here to pump each other up. It's our turn, right? It's our turn, and it's our turn to step out in our magic. It's time to share our magic. This is what I call it. Our talent, what we bring to this world. And so I want to also support each other. So definitely go and leave some comments if you feel compelled to, over on Shruti's YouTube channel, after the live, about the live, things like that, because we want to start boosting her and her channel up as well. So just saying.
Thank you.
Yay! We did something. Look at that. All right, so we'll go ahead and end the live right now, and then I'll probably be back live again next week. I'll do readings next week, and we'll talk a little bit further about what we're going to be doing in 2 weeks, and y'all can give me some feedback and Shruti some feedback as well. So, and now you have a face to the name that you see in our chat sometimes. So,
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Shruti. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Shana. Thank you very much for having me here. And thank you everyone for joining us. I know this is very little about Bach Flower Essences, but we'll keep you posted.
All
Stay
right,
tuned.
everybody, have a good weekend.
Have a good day.